Hey there, Hofstra fans. Welcome to this week's edition of the W. Mason Coaches Report right here on GoHofstra.com. I'm Mike Sullivan, joined as always by head coach of the Hofstra Pride Wrestling team, Rob Anspach. Coach, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good, Coach. And final home match this past weekend against Cornell, number 10 team in the country. Get off to that great start. 4 consecutive wins from 133, then to Banks at 157, but then it kind of the wheels fell off things at the end there. What did you see from your team against the Big Red?
Well, I thought we went out and obviously the first half did a real nice job wrestling the way we wanted to wrestle. We were attacking, we were competing well. Even Steve, we wrestled a great match. The kid's really good. We got to open that kid up a little bit more, try to push the pace a little bit more. But through the first 5 matches, I thought we wrestled well. We had a 15-3 lead going into halftime. And then the second half, they have a strong upper weight. Their upper weights are really good. With Dave coming out there at 65, and they have Bosak, defending national champ, at 184, and their 97 pounder is really good as well. When we were looking at it on paper and stuff like that, we're looking for. We're looking for guys to compete against those guys, and then we're really looking for Jermaine and Paul as the guys that could really win and bring the dual meet home. And Jermaine got taken down right at the end of the match to lose, and Paul obviously got injured and had to default out of the match. So that was a tough break. But I would have liked to see Nick and Taras and Victor just compete better. I don't think they did a good job of going out there and trying to win the match. And you got to understand what you're wrestling at some points in time. You got to understand what you're wrestling for, and you're wrestling for the team. But at some times, and they just didn't get it. And so I was a little disappointed with that performance. I wanted Jermaine. Obviously, I wanted that win. It didn't happen, but I wasn't disappointed in the effort he put in out there. I think could he have done some things better, of course. And he's definitely capable of winning that match. So we need to work on doing some things better, but he gave a good effort. Paul was winning the match, and it was just unfortunate that the guy locked his knee in, and the injury took place.
Let's look at those earlier matches first, Coach, especially jumping off the paper. The surprises, of course, seem to be there Cody Rosarello 149 and then Tyler Banks at 157. You come to expect victories from Franco and Bite. Before them, what did you see from Cody and Tyler that got them the victories?
Well, I think Cody did a really nice job. He went out there, he was in on a takedown right to start the match. He got taken down off of his own shot. He didn't panic. He got out, and he went right back on another leg attack. And so Cody's starting to come together. He's starting to get a little bit more confidence. It was one of those things, and we had talked about it with Justin for a long time last year, how he was pretty inconsistent because he was off the mat for 2 years. Well, Cody's going through those same things right now. He's been off the mat for 2 years. He originally was going to try and wrestle 141 pounds. We moved him up to 149, so he's it's unfortunate that it's the whole season for the most part, but we're only getting into the really important part of the season now. So he's starting to find his stride and doing a pretty good job with it. So what I liked about it was he got taken down. He didn't panic. He went right back on it, kept getting takedowns. And then when he got on top, he was working his arm bars, and that's what the Ridgerellas do. I mean, they're very good on top, and he dominated the kid. And Tyler, I think, won his match. Obviously, he won in overtime, but I think he really won the match in the first period. He really wore on the kid, did a nice job pulling him into short offense. He's wearing him out, and then by the third period, actually in overtime, that kid was exhausted. He was visibly tired, and you could see it, and it was just a matter of time, till we were going to eventually get that victory.
At the heavier weights, you bring Taras back at 184, push Victor up to 197. What was the thought process there, and what did you see from those two guys?
It was kind of out of necessity, as Tim could not wrestle. It was one of the things where he had a last-second injury, so we just had to kind of shift the lineup to what we thought was going to be best. I didn't see much from them. That was the sad. Yeah, that was the thing. They didn't do a whole lot. I think Taras was probably out there for a minute 20, and Victor not much longer. So they spent a lot of time on bottom, and when you do that, you're typically going to lose. So what do we need to work on? We need to work on competing at those weight classes before anything else. Technically and all those things, they don't matter if you don't compete. And that's step one. Getting your mind ready to compete, and then we can start looking at, okay, this is what we need to do in this situation, this is what we need to do in this situation. But if you don't have step one, which is the willingness to fight, like with every ounce of your body, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Now, you talked about the injury from Paul Snyder. Beginning of the season to now, probably been your most consistent wrestler. Really had a good senior season. Just talk about him. If you can give an update on how is he looking heading into this week.
He's going to be out. He's not, the injury's severe enough that he's probably not going to wrestle until the CAAs. So, it's pretty substantial. He has been a consistent guy for us, kind of anchoring us down at the heavyweight. It was a weight class where we were getting a lot of wins, and that's always nice when you can kind of feel like, hey, we have 3 points in the back pocket at that last match. So it's obviously a big blow for the team, but what are you going to do? We need to rally around it, and some guys need to step it up and pick up the slack for Paul.
Now, as well, Coach, wrapping up the discussion here on this Cornell match, your final home match for your seniors, the Steve Bananos, the Paul Snyders, and the rest of the senior class. Talk about the emotions of the day and what this class has meant to you.
Well, this has been a very good class for us. Again, I talked about it before. It's your last home match, but it's not your last wrestle match, and we still have work to do. And so you can't get all wrapped up in like the whole emotion of it. This is my last time out there and stuff like that. I just, to me, we got to take it as it's a match, and let's go out there and wrestle. And yeah, it's the last time you're in front of your home crowd and things like that. But to me, they're not done. They got a lot of work to do. So I'm not worried about looking back at what they have done, because at this point in time, they haven't accomplished what they need to this year, which is to win CAAs and get out to that national tournament. And then at the end of the year, we'll look back and say, hey, this senior class did X, Y, and Z, and we can congratulate them on all those types of things. But I think they'll tell you too, if they don't win 4 out of 5 CAA championships, they're going to be disappointed in it. So it's too early to say, hey, this is what we have done, and then to look back on these guys and pat them on the back at this point in time. They've had a good career to this point, but there's still work to be done.
Next up on the docket for these guys, Binghamton coming up this weekend, arguably over the past decade or so, the toughest competition for your team in the CAA. So heading into this match, give us a little scouting report. What's going to be the key?
We need to go out there and wrestle really well. I don't know what their lineup's going to be. They've had guys in and out. We've obviously been doing some following and checking things out. 149 pounds, they got Donnie Vincent, who was 3rd in the country last year, so he's a handful. We need to wrestle well against him. At 197 pounds, they got Nate Scheidel, who's ranked 5th in the country right now, moving up from 184 pounds. So, we've seen these guys so many times. It's nothing new. They don't have anybody new coming in there. We need to go out there, and we got to be ready for a physical match. We got to be ready to match their emotion. They get fired up to wrestle us, and we get fired up to wrestle them. I mean, it's another New York team that has a lot of recruiting battles in it, as we sit there and recruit the same type of kids to come to Hofstra, or they're trying to get them to go to Binghamton. So it's a big match from that standpoint. And obviously for seeding at the CAAs, this is a huge match. So, in order for us to get the win, we need to go out there and, our guys that are supposed to dominate need to dominate, but we have to just keep wrestling the way we have. I think if you look at our last couple matches, going back to the CAA duels and then American and Columbia and even Cornell, even though we lost, we've been wrestling well, and we've gotten a little bit better every time we stepped on the mat, and we need to continue doing that. And if you look on paper, Cornell is a much better team than Binghamton, but we can't have a setback because we're not wrestling Cornell. We got to go out there and attack them the same way as if they're the #1 team in the country, and have that mindset and go out there and be ready to fight.
So coming up, the final dual meet of your regular season, so to speak, before we start talking about CAAs, NCAAs, etc. What's the key to end the season on a strong note against Binghamton?
Just staying where we're good. Wrestle the positions where we're good. Not, be solid. A lot of the wrestlers like to do some funky things and roll around, and you can get injured and stuff like that, which is not what we want to see. We got to be solid. Make sure we're clean on everything we do, and if we do that, as they try to do all that funk stuff, we should be looking to catch people on their back and get some bonus points.
The Hofstra Pride Wrestling team takes on the Binghamton Bearcats this weekend. For head coach Rob Anspach, I'm Mike Sullivan. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good rest of your week.